In this video, I explain why you would better use an instance method inside another instance method rather than writing everything from scratch. Let me explain that using an example that we already seen. So assume that we have this class person. This class has three instance attributes, name, weight, and height that are created in the initializer. The class also have a method called getBMI that calculates the body mass index. So you calculates this body mass index using that instance weight and height, and then it returns, the BMI. Assume that you are asked to add a new method called isHealthy, uh, and this method tries to figure out if you are healthy or not using the BMI of that person. If the BMI is between 18.5 and 25, then we consider that person healthy and we return true. Otherwise, we return false. So most people, what they would do is that rather than just using self.getBMI, using the method that uh, already being created in the class, they try to calculate this BMI again and use it here. Uh, what is wrong with this? Why it's better use the method that is already created rather than just simply writing here self.weight / self.height to the power of 2 again. The reason is that if in future you have found that this calculation is changed rather than having height to the power of 2, now you have to have height to the power of 2.2, for example. Then here, not only you need to change get BMI, you have to change is healthy as well. But if you use the BMI equal to self.get BMI, you only need to change get BMI, and is healthy is up, is updated automatically. You don't need to change it if healthy. So it's about the amount of change that can be enforced on you in future. That's why you'd better use instance methods that you have already created inside the class rather than reproducing them again and again. So now I would like you to do this exercise. You need to spend around 2 to 5 minutes on doing this. We already have the fraction, simple fraction here that has two attributes, numerator and denominator. We have written str and donder str and donder add. The issue here is that donder add does not return a simplified value. So when the American writes F3 equal to F1 plus F2, it returns, for example, 20 over 25 rather than returning 4 over 5, the simplified version of that, fraction. So what can you do? How can you update? How can you change Donder add so that this can happen? The hint is that you need to create another instance method called simplify, and then use it here. So as you can see here, after creating a new instance of R in Donder add and setting the attributes of numerator and denominator, I used r.simplify, and then I returned R. Now I have to define this simplify. What I can do is to simply write down def simplify, and I have always needs to provide self as the argument. Then what I need to do is to first calculate GCD of the numerator and denominator, and then use this new value, this GCD, to recalculate numerator and denominator. I have to um, change this instance's numerator and denominator by dividing that by g. A common mistake is to use r instead of self in in the simplify method. Note that when in Donder add you are calling r.simplify. Simplify is a method that is called for an instance of the advanced fraction. So you cannot use simplify. You cannot use r in start simplify again because r is not identified. Simplify and don't add are two separate methods. Simplify cannot have access to the to the variables uh, to the instance of classes that are defined in Donder add. So inside simplify, you need to assume that you only have self and you want to simplify that one instance of that class that you have access to. So you should not use R here. You need to think as if that this fraction wants to be simplified and use self here. In the next video, I explain why front-end programmers love classes.